Echoes and Pockets in Space, Reflections from a Zoom Call, written by Taylor Reed. It's something you do with others. One more time, it's not something you shoulder all on your own. That message was foundational to the meeting's focus, but I still had to keep reminding myself. Scene, Neighbourliness at the End of Progress, a 4-part Zoom series, session number 3. Topic, One No, Many Yeses. Sam Ewell and Dougald Hine in conversation on Ivan Illich's work and where it fits today. Not too far into the call, I realized I was hearing voices. The echoes sounded like Brad and Amanda's recently penned admonition. Communities are looking less and less like webs of relationship, and more like haphazard and temporary assemblages. This breakdown makes it crucial to focus on more than just the home. That doesn't negate what I wrote in the Essential Land-Based Project, Why Home Matters Matter, that integrity at the home scale is the primer for better functioning resilient communities, but it does add another dimension. In listening to this call, that dimension felt a bit burdensome. But first, how did Illich and friends get us there? Ivan Illich's work might be considered institutional critique, which is fair. As pointed out in One No, Many Yeses, this characterization causes problems when we assume his vision was wholly negative, built upon tearing down. While his work can be cutting, he's doing that purposefully. Illich is concerned with creating something better, something more helpful on a personal and human scale. He isn't simply slamming institutions. He's fending for the space of emergent encounters, practices, and relationships, which institutions, when rigid and monolithic, get in the way of. One No, Many Yeses could reference multiple, somewhat linked things. I don't know if Dougald had anything to do with the choice, but that's the name of his friend Paul Kingsnorth's first book, a treatise on globalization. One No is also a quote from Gustavo Esteva's work. Gustavo, a thought leader in post-development thinking, another Illichian world. And lastly, One No, Many Yeses also holds a clue for understanding the Illichian paradox. As Detroiter and fellow participant Michelle Berry Lane pointed out, a few big no's so that many yeses can flourish. These are the yeses Dougald refers to when he brings up Wendell Berry's quote, "The only true and effective operator's manual for Spaceship Earth is not a book that any human will ever write. It is hundreds of thousands of local cultures. These cultures in place are the same thing Brad points to here." But they too, like local communities that embody resilience, face currents that risk their demise. Sam says Illich aims his primary no at Harry S. Truman's 1947 development plan. According to this plan, through the Point 4 program, the American dream is exported to the rest of the world under the guise of offering prosperity for all through capital, science, and technology. Capital? That's not what Illich says no to. Science? That's not it either. Technology? Nope. Care for others and their livelihoods, no matter where folks are located in the world? No. A process through which countless cultures developed over time in ways particularly suited to the land and the people are leveled to export a more Western, consumerist, profit-oriented model? Bingo. That's the no. Back to the talk. As I mentioned earlier, homes were under scrutiny. At least they were as venues for pockets of logic and relationship that defy commodification. Sam shared that early attempts at hosting convivial gatherings in their own house presented complications. It can be difficult, mainly when different cultures are represented. There's an invisible private threshold there, and it's not always comfortable to cross. And also, it can be exhausting. Dougald followed Sam's comments by mentioning the stereotypical suburban model of hospitality, one couple hosting another couple in their home for dinner. It's great. It really is. But if you're trying to grow into and bolster a stronger community through one-off gatherings like this amid daily life, there is potential for feeling like you're falling behind on a treadmill. It's hard to keep up the pace, especially if you aren't getting anywhere. It leaves a lot of folks behind. So I sat hearing these things from these people, things I'd already heard variations of from my peers, and my elephant in the room drew creaks from the floorboards. I saw the value, I saw the good, and no doubt the good was convicting. How could I support emergent and convivial relationships and work outside of the home? How about calling together a small and regular gathering at the local pub? Should I pen a business plan for a cooperatively minded coffee shop? Secure a location? Unknown. For a third space gathering of sorts? Unknown. The thoughts echoed and reverberated as the speakers continued to lay the case for intentional neighboring outside of one's house. Ask any person who has convened or organized any consistent get-together. It can be weighty. It's not my skill set, and I'm already behind on things in general. Our family has so much to be thankful for, but we're still running thin these days. Is there space to add more to our social and relational plates when we're already in a bit of a struggle to maintain? I'm writing with my own time and energy in mind. I don't necessarily expect these circumstances to apply to you. I don't think these circumstances are best or representative. I think my own lived experience is what I'm best equipped to grapple with and share from. And even though it's a bit introspective, it may have use for others. It was a fellow listener on the call sharing their own experience that shifted my take on what I was hearing. Living in one of the poorer areas of Greater Sydney, I have realized how important the building of social capital is, which I believe emerged best through receiving the gifts that others bring, rather than thinking about how we can help others. Looking for what is strong in the other, and coming from points of our own weakness and need is a powerful posture. Words of welcome. Dougald brought up a curious phrase not long after, the art of invitation. He borrowed the words from Lucy Neal, author of Playing for Time, Making Art as If the World Mattered. He understood it as a clue hinting at the position involved in creating space for intentional neighboring, inviting agency and presence without resorting to coercive power. It's not something that you force. You invite. Everyone needs something to do and someone to do it with. Simple being withness can be the gift. The perspective that these social networks rest on my energies and offerings is flawed. That's a wonderful recipe for burnout. Healthy networks depend on humility, honesty, and presence, which are relational strengths. Confusing the work of authentic social capital with something I need to hoist alone reeks of hubris. If you get to the end of the talk, you'll hear that, realistically, the call's convivial examples aren't panaceas. A community garden isn't going to untangle the complexities of the world's food systems. Neighbor nights won't bring world peace. But that's not the expectation or the intention. The yeses are many. The small pockets and varying arrays of the 10,000 cultures are enough. Small enough to be approachable and tangible, yet collectively significant. It is crucial to avoid the Promethean temptation to take one thing and make it do everything. And I have to remember the same for myself.